Let me begin by congratulating Texas Democrats and Party Chair Kendall Scudder for doing exactly what must be done. You are finding great candidates to run for office. You are now competing in areas where Republicans ran unopposed for decades. You are building a strong grassroots movement, and you are winning. Just last week in D.C., I met with Taylor Remmett, a leader in the Machinists Union, in a Trump plus 17 district. Taylor won. And that is what's going to happen all over Texas this November. Now, brothers and sisters, you have heard a couple of speeches in the last few days. So I am going to cut to the chase and give you my sense of what is happening in America today and what we have got to do to advance the future. First, it goes without saying that we must hold Donald Trump, his administration, and the entire Republican Party, who control the White House, control the Senate, control the U.S. House. We are going to hold them accountable for their disastrous policies. These policies have devastated working families in Texas, in Vermont, and all over the country. We are going to hold them to account. This administration, among many other actions, decided, if you can believe it, that it was appropriate to provide $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. And then to use that money to throw 15 million Americans off the health care they desperately need. And let me tell you something that has not been talked about much. When you throw 15 million people off health care, when people can't get to a doctor when they should, people by the thousands are going to die from that horrendous decision. And that is why, together, we're going to roll it back. But it's not just health care. Trump administration made the largest cuts to education in American history. As a result, 7 million Americans will be forced to pay $4,000 a year more on average on their student loan payments. And 1 in 4 student loan borrowers are expected to go into default by the end of the summer. We want our kids to have a great education, not to be forced to default on their loans. At a time when millions of kids are going hungry in America, Trump made the largest cuts to nutrition assistance in American history, literally, taking food out of the mouths of hungry kids. You don't take food out of the mouths of hungry children and give tax breaks to billionaires. That's not what this country is about. Trump ripped up the union contracts of 1 million federal workers. He denied overtime pay to over 4 million workers. Trump abolished humanitarian aid that will lead to the deaths of millions of the poorest children on this planet by 2030. And here in the U.S., Trump's domestic army, ICE, has acted brutally and illegally, tearing parents away from their kids and deporting millions of people who lived and worked in this country for decades. He has destroyed the lives of tens of thousands of people, and we're going to address that issue as well. And then after all of the cuts in health care, in education, in nutrition, he wants to spend another $500 billion on a bloated military budget. Those are not the priorities of the American people. Trump, during his campaign, promised no more endless wars. You remember that? And then started an unprovoked war against Iran in which thousands of innocent men, women, and children have been killed. Gas prices are now the highest in years, and taxpayers are going to have to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on this disastrous war. But it's not just Trump's terrible policies. The American people are tired of a president who is a pathological liar, who is an authoritarian personality who wants more and more power in his own hands, as he ignores the Constitution and the rule of law, who is a narcissist, who, if he had his way, would probably name every building in America after himself, who is a kleptocrat, corrupt kleptocrat, who accepts a $400 million luxury plane from Qatar and then makes deals with countries in the Middle East and around the world which benefit his family's wealth. My friends, it is important that we hold Trump and his administration accountable for the disastrous policies they have imposed on the American people. But I have to tell you, that is not enough. It is not enough to be anti-Trump and to simply campaign against Trump. The American people are hurting. They want to know what, in fact, is going on in this crazy and unprecedented moment in American history. They want to know what the Democratic Party stands for and what the Democratic Party is going to do to improve their lives when it gains power. And by the way, what I have seen is I have traveled this country and we have held dozens and dozens of rallies from one end of America to the other. And what I have seen in recent primary elections is that the American people do not want establishment status quo policies that tinker around the edges. The American people understand that this country is facing major crises, and they want bold proposals to improve their lives and the lives of their children. So let me do something this evening that is radical. You ready for a radical idea? All right. Are you really ready? I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you some stuff that you don't see in the corporate media and you hear very rarely in the halls of Congress. And that is that while the vast majority of the American people are struggling to put food on the table, pay for health care, pay for housing, pay for child care and education, the wealthiest people in our country have never, ever had it so good. In fact, never before in American history have so few people held so much wealth and so much power. A quick history lesson. You all remember we studied in high school the Gilded Age. You remember that? It was the age of Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Jay Gould, and Carnegie, and these guys were very, very, very rich. It turns out that today, when you look at the people at the top of the economic ladder, the very few, the concentration of wealth in America today is 4 times greater than it was during the Gilded Age. 4 times greater. And that disparity is getting worse. After receiving the largest tax break in history from Trump, some 900 billionaires in our country became $2.2 trillion richer. 900 people since Trump is in office, $2.2 trillion richer. In other words, the gap between the very, very rich and everybody else is getting wider and wider. Never before in our history have we had as much income and wealth inequality as we have today. Today, the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 93%. Today, one man, Elon Musk, a trillionaire, Elon Musk owns 3 times more wealth than the bottom 50% of American households. Did you understand what I just said? One man owns 3 times more wealth than the bottom half of American society. CEOs of American corporations, big corporations now make 350 times what their average worker makes. But it is not just income and wealth inequality. Never before in American history have we had as much concentration of ownership in our economy as we have today. Handful of giant corporations control one sector after another sector, and their monopolistic practices drive up prices. But it's not just income and wealth inequality and concentration of ownership. Never before in American history have we seen so much billionaire and corporate ownership of our media. In the U.S. today, 6 large media conglomerates control about 90% of what the American people see, hear, and read. Trump's supporters have recently bought up CBS, and they will soon own CNN. Musk and his fellow billionaires own many of the major social media platforms. And as bad as all of that is, let me tell you what is even more dangerous. And that is today, the billionaires and their super PACs are undermining our democracy and increasingly control the political process in our country. Here's the truth. You want to run for office, you want to run for local office, you want to run for state office, you want to run for Congress. And you get involved in a campaign, you say, I'm going to stand up for the working class of this country. And you run a good campaign. You know what happens to you? The billionaires and their super PACs will spend tens of millions of dollars to defeat you. That is not democracy. And that is why together, not only are we going to end this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, but we're going to get super PACs out of the political process. Bottom line, we are now living in a moment in American history where a tiny number of billionaires are exerting unprecedented influence over our society. And let me tell you something, these are not nice guys. They are extremely greedy and ruthless and will do anything they can to accumulate even more wealth and power. You might think that if you had $10 billion, that might be enough. Not for these guys. They want more and more and more, and they will step on anyone, in order to achieve their goals. And while the very richest people in this country become richer, what is going on with the American working class? And I think all of you know the answer. Today, in the richest country on earth, 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck, and many of you grew up in families that struggled economically as well. And let me just tell you what that means in today's world. It means that while the wealthy can afford the best health care in the world, they can go to any doctor they want, any hospital, get any experimental medicine if they need to. 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. 500,000 go bankrupt from medically related debt. It means that if you are uninsured or underinsured, you hesitate to go to a doctor when you get sick. And what happens when you don't go to a doctor when you should? That's right. You die. And every year in America, some 60,000 people die unnecessarily because they didn't get to a doctor when they should. And it means that because we have a healthcare system controlled by the insurance companies and drug companies, we pay by far the highest prices in the world for healthcare and for prescription drugs. In the richest country on earth, we are the only major nation not to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child. So that's health care, basic necessity of life. What about housing? Most of us would like a roof over our heads. It means that while Jeff Bezos can own 14 mansions around the world, and other multi-billionaires can buy their own islands, some 800,000 Americans are homeless, and 20 million households are spending 50% or more of their limited incomes on housing. It means that young people today, unless we change it, will own their first homes 12 years later than their parents did, not until they reach the age of 40. And what about our kids? You know, I hear all these politicians, they love America, they stand in front of the kids. In America today, we are failing working class children. Today in America, if you can believe it, we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country. Millions of our families cannot afford childcare, cannot afford to get a higher education for their kids. And how do we treat our seniors? Our parents, the people who raised us, the people who built this country, the people who fought in our wars. How do we treat them? Well, today in America, 1 out of 3 seniors is struggling economically, and 20% of seniors are trying to live on $15,000 a year or less. What's happening to people out working today? Well, despite huge advancements in technology and worker productivity, the average worker, important to understand, today makes nearly $30 a week less than he or she did 53 years ago. Got that? Where did all of that increased wealth from worker productivity increases go? That's right. They went to the people on top. According to the Rand Corporation, since 1975, nearly $80 trillion in wealth has been redistributed from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. And let me tell you something else that nobody talks about. It's not talked about very much. What happens to people who every day are struggling to put food on the table, pay their rent, pay their insurance, take care of their kids and their parents? What happens to them? They are living with extraordinary stress. And you know what stress does? Stress kills. When every day you have to struggle to keep your family going, it takes a toll on your body and it takes a toll on you mentally. And the reality is that working class families, lower income people, live shorter lives than they should. 6 years. They die 6 years earlier than the wealthy. You understand what I'm saying here? In other words, being working class in America is a death sentence. People are struggling so hard just to stay alive that their bodies and their minds are being destroyed. And while workers are struggling today, they got something else on their minds. They're worried about artificial intelligence. They're worried about robotics and what that will mean for their future. Will a robot take my manufacturing job or the job that I have in an automobile factory? Will AI take the job that I have in a law firm or in accounting or in other white-collar jobs? If I am a truck driver or a cab driver, will my job disappear with the growth of driverless vehicles? Now, nobody knows exactly what AI and robotics will bring, but there are estimates out there that over the next 10, 20 years, tens of millions of jobs will be destroyed. And our job, something I've been working on lately, is to make sure that AI and robotics does not just benefit the billionaires who own the industry, it benefits the working class of this country. So that is where we are. Those are some of the issues that people are staying up nights, worrying about, fearing. But let me tell you now, and let me suggest to you, that in the midst of all of these crises, let me tell you what, just a few of the things that I believe we should be doing when Democrats regain control over the House and the Senate. And I won't go through a whole litany and a laundry list here, but I just want to talk about some of the major ones. Whether the billionaire class likes it or not, we're going to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. And we are going to restore real democracy to America. When Mr. Musk and his billionaire friends have unprecedented levels of wealth, And when major corporations often pay an effective tax rate lower than a truck driver or a nurse, we are going to make the billionaire class start paying their fair share of taxes. And when so many of our people are uninsured or underinsured, we're going to end the disgrace of being the only major country on earth without a national health care program. We are going to pass Medicare for all. When millions of workers in Texas and Vermont throughout this country are living on starvation wages, we're going to raise that minimum wage to a living wage, at least $20 an hour. And when millions of workers want to join unions, we're going to make it easier for them to do that and stop the unconstitutional action of corporations. When big tech and the wealthiest people on earth are aggressively pushing AI and robotics, the most transformative technologies in history, without public input, we're going to pass legislation that makes sure that these technologies benefit all of us, not just a handful of billionaires. And when so many people in America are homeless or paying 50% or more of their limited incomes on housing, we are going to fight for a freeze on rents and the construction of 7 million units of low-income and affordable housing. When so many of our seniors are struggling economically, we are not going to cut Social Security as Republicans want. We're going to expand Social Security by lifting the cap on taxable income. And we're going to bring back traditional pension plans so that every senior in America can retire with dignity and security. When our educational system, from childcare to graduate school, is broken and unaffordable, we will demand free, high-quality public education from childcare to graduate school. And we're going to attract the best and the brightest young people into the teaching profession by making sure no teacher in America earns less than $60,000 a year. When heat waves and drought are devastating this planet, we will respond to the existential threat of climate change by creating millions of jobs as we move to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. We will end a foreign policy which is immoral and ineffective, and a military budget of well over $1 trillion a year. No more spending billions of dollars on endless wars. No more spending billions of dollars on the genocidal Netanyahu government in Israel. No more support, because we believe in democracy. No more support for the cruel dictatorships in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and elsewhere. Bottom line, let's start investing in the American people, not the war machine. And when we look at the immigration crisis in this country, we know the answer is not breaking down doors and throwing decent people out of this country. It is comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship. My friends, the political reality of the moment is that the oligarchs and the billionaires have endless amounts of money to spend on campaigns and on politics. Can't deny it. We will never outspend them. They got huge amounts of money. But the way we defeat them, and we are seeing it now, not just in New York, but all over this country, is when ordinary people get involved in the political process, which is what you are leading us here in Texas. When we educate, when we organize, when we knock on doors, when we reject all of those people who want to separate us based on the color of our skin or our religion or our country of origin or our gender or our sexual orientation. That's what demagogues always do. They separate us on all of those superficial things. But we win because we believe in solidarity. We believe in a common humanity. And we know that when we stand together as one people, the oligarchs and all of their money will never defeat it. Let's go out and do it. Thank you all.